The last U.S. troops have left Afghanistan, officially marking an end to America's longest war. Pentagon officials say the final flight left Kabul just 1 minute before midnight local time. The U.S. has spent weeks trying to evacuate American citizens and at-risk Afghans following the Taliban's rapid takeover of the country earlier this month. More than 122,000 people have been relocated from Afghanistan since the end of July. The mission did not end without casualties. Over the weekend, the President and First Lady paid their respects to 13 U.S. service members killed in a bombing outside of Kabul airport Thursday. And the Pentagon is investigating reports a U.S. drone strike targeting the group that took responsibility for the attack killed civilians. CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe has more.
Tonight, the U.S. retreat from Afghanistan is complete.
And the last manned aircraft is now clearing the airspace above Afghanistan.
The final American flight lifted off out of Kabul airport just after midnight local time, where it's now August 31st, the president's deadline for withdrawing after a bloody and costly 20-year war.
It's a mission that brought Osama bin Laden to a just end, along with many of his al-Qaeda co-conspirators. And it was not a cheap mission. The cost was 2,461 U.S. service members and civilians killed, and more than 20,000 who were injured.
Social media showed the Taliban celebrating their return to power tonight with heavy gunfire. Earlier, in the frantic closing hours of the evacuation, military aircraft had to shoot off flares to divert potential rocket attacks. Roughly 6,000 Americans were pulled out in the last 16 days, but hundreds likely remain behind, as do thousands of Afghan allies who'd hoped to get out. The evacuation caps one of the largest in modern history and the end of a catastrophic period for President Biden. Thursday's suicide bombing outside the airport, killing 13 U.S. service members and hundreds of Afghans, turned the withdrawal mission into a full-blown crisis. Mr. Biden honored the fallen and grieved with their families at Dover Air Force Base on Sunday. With another attack imminent this weekend, the Pentagon targeted an ISIS-K suicide bomber with a drone strike, which witnesses charge also killed civilians, including several children.
10 persons died in here. We lost 10 persons, including of my daughter. He was 2 years old.
U.S. officials say they've launched an investigation into the incident.
We are not in a position to dispute it right now.
And Ed joins me now for more from the White House. So, Ed, we have heard from Pentagon and State Department officials about this moment. When will we hear from the president?
Well, the White House says, Elaine, that he plans to address the nation tomorrow afternoon about all of this. In a statement tonight, he thanks the U.S. military personnel and diplomats who've been working over the last several weeks to get thousands out of Afghanistan, and says he's instructing the Secretary of State to work with global partners to ensure the continued safe passage of any Americans, Afghans, and other foreign nationals in Afghanistan who want to get out, saying that the Taliban has made commitments to their safe passage and, quote, the world needs to hold the Taliban to its commitments. So we'll see in the coming days probably a renewed or a new diplomatic push to work with the Taliban and other countries to ensure that the airport reopens under civilian control and that people are able to come and go freely if they are eligible and wanting to leave.
Well, ending the war in Afghanistan was one of President Biden's campaign promises, but recent polls have shown a majority of Americans do not support how he has handled the withdrawal. Looking ahead, what could this decision mean for the rest of his presidency?
Well, let's see. I mean, obviously, a lot of it depends on the condition in Afghanistan. Does the inability of ISIS-K or any other group to conduct terrorist attacks here on American soil continue? Because in recent days, military, diplomatic, and White House officials have all said ISIS-K, no other group currently has the capability to do that. Does that change for some reason? And would that be tied directly to the withdrawal decision made by the president? And also, generally, does American opinion on having left sustain itself? The White House believes it will. And so if this sort of falls back in further in America's attention, even though it shouldn't necessarily, because there's clearly a lot of unfinished business that needs to be completed and reported upon, and attention shifts back to somehow getting through the pandemic, this hurricane cleanup that's underway on the Gulf Coast, overall the White House would expect to see his numbers rebound. But obviously, this is at least short-term hit on this president's approval rating. Despite this historic evacuation, the fact that so many got out safely despite the unfortunate death of 13 U.S. service members and nearly 20 others wounded, and of course the hundreds of Afghans who were killed in the streets of Kabul in the closing days of this evacuation and the U.S. occupation.
And Ed, Pentagon officials say they did not get everyone out of Afghanistan that they wanted to. What is the administration's message for Afghans and American citizens who were unable to make it out on time?
That the commitment continues. But I asked White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, do you have any sense of when those that are left now will know what it is they're supposed to do or where they can go to get out? They didn't give a clear answer because they don't have one yet. It's going to require some conversations with, Qatar, the European Union, NATO countries, the United Nations, and yes, the Taliban, to figure out, who and how and where and when can people get in and out of that country safely if they so decide. And I think there's going to be a lot of pressure that needs to be put on the State Department and the Homeland Security Department to ensure that those special immigrant visas that had been backlogged for so long over multiple administrations finally get cleared, and that everyone who was eligible to get in because of the service they paid to the United States, either through working with the military, the State Department, intelligence agencies, or news organizations and non-government organizations, gets a chance to get into this country safely and securely. And then, of course, there'll be questions, as there should be, about whether everyone is being properly screened, or did somebody get through that isn't eligible or that has the potential to cause harm. Obviously, that remains a concern that I know a lot of lawmakers especially will be asking about in the coming weeks.
In addition, Ed, just the bottom line with logistics, is it even clear what the options might be for evacuating people who remain in the country now that you have U.S. troops out?
Not at this point, and not until somebody that the United States relies on or considers credible is running things at the Hamid Karzai International Airport. This is the place we just flew out of, the U.S. military did. Left it all there to be run by somebody else, but it's got to be determined who that is. Some reports today suggest that Qatar will be closely involved in running that because they have an interest, a regional interest, and they've worked with the Taliban over the last several years over the course of peace talks that were being held between the United States and the Taliban. European countries like Germany also very interested in ensuring that that airport is operational, so they may get involved as well. If those two countries are running things, look, the United States has a good relationship with them, so at least when it comes to the airport, they might be all right. But does a U.S. diplomatic presence ever get reestablished there physically? Or is there some other country that we start to rely upon to sort of serve as the physical outpost there in Kabul or somewhere else in Afghanistan for people to go to finish their applications? It's going to take a while to sort that out, and that's what's going to make this so frustrating.
So the White House says the Taliban has committed to allowing people who remain in Afghanistan to leave after August 31st. Does the Biden administration trust them to keep their word?
No. In a word, no. And in fact, it was telling today to hear General McKenzie, the head of CENTCOM, describe what he called a pragmatic relationship of necessity that had existed with the Taliban in recent weeks. Not a partnership, not an allyship, a pragmatic relationship of necessity, which is basically, look, you're staring at each other here on a battlefield and you realize you got to work together. I guess we'll work with them. And he said, look, generally the Taliban did provide good support. They secured that airport for us for the most part. Of course, there was the deadly attack on 13 U.S. service members. But by no means do they, the United States, consider them to be a trusted partner or ally yet. And the president has said multiple times, they've got a lot of things to prove to the world that they're capable of running that country in a credible way. And I think it's going to take months, if not years, for them to restore any sense of trust, at least with this administration.
Right. I know you asked about this question of leverage on Face the Nation of Jake Sullivan. It's really going to be interesting to see how this dynamic plays out. Ed O'Keefe for us. Ed, thank you.
Take care.